I just wanted to start off and thank all of our brand partners globally. As you know, we just had the biggest sales month in the history of LifeWave. And so there's a lot to celebrate, right? So every time we hit a new sales number, that just means the number of lives that we're improving around the world is increasing. So I'm certainly very appreciative of everything that our leadership and our brand partners are doing to bring us such phenomenal success. So I think it's important we start off that way. Of course, today we're going to be talking about glutathione. And this is a timely topic because as people are getting out and hopefully enjoying their holiday breaks, taking a vacation, being in the sun, they're going to want to know what can they do to protect their skin from damage and, of course, reduce the appearance of lines and wrinkles and also improve their overall health. So this is a very, very timely subject in that regard. What we'll do for the benefit of some people that are new to LifeWave, we're going to do a very, very brief introduction to glutathione since we've covered it so many times in the past, but a very brief overview. And then we're going to jump right into the benefits of glutathione relative to the skin. We're going to take a look at some clinical studies. And what we're even going to do today, I thought I'd have a special surprise. We're going to talk about the relationship between glutathione and stem cells. Oh. That's not something that we've really done before. There's some new literature out on that. And because X39, of course, is our premier flagship product, I think it would be good for our brand partners to know, hey, if I'm using X39 with the glutathione patch, what type of benefits might I expect and how do those two complement one another? So we haven't done that before, so we're going to cover that today. And then, of course, we're also going to have some time for some questions. So I think it'll be a really good hour that we're going to spend together. We're going to start over here. Okay. So first, there is a tremendous number of resources that are available on the internet relative to glutathione. Now, it's important to remember that these clinical studies are going to be talking about injections of glutathione, glutathione by IV, supplementation with glutathione in the form of N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid. There's a number of different ways that you can elevate glutathione, which we'll talk about. And in particular, if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, I would strongly recommend that you supplement with the amino acid cysteine, preferably a precursor like NAC or sulforaphane, which is found in broccoli. You want to supplement with those to make sure that you are getting enough of the amino acid cysteine, so you have the building blocks to make glutathione. Now, what's important to know is that if you take a glutathione pill or an NAC supplement, over about 30 days, you'll get an increase of perhaps 15 to 40% increase in glutathione. The advantage of the patch is that it provides the signal, if you will, gentle stimulation of light on the skin for very rapidly increasing glutathione levels. So that's going to be the significant difference between supplementation and using the patch. But certainly, if you're not getting enough cysteine in your diet, supplementing with NAC would be good. That way you're guaranteed you have the precursors there to make glutathione, and then our patch will do the rest. So this is a good reference. We've used this reference before. It provides a very nice overview of what glutathione is. And by the way, in order to make glutathione in the body, in addition to cysteine, you need the amino acids glycine and glutamic acid. Now, we don't worry about glutamic acid because that's something the human body makes. Interestingly enough, with glycine, there's some studies which show that just supplementing with the amino acid glycine can increase lifespan by over 20%. And that's really extraordinary, right? So let's say you were to do, you're like in America, it would be somebody like Jack LaLanne, who lived to, I think it was 98 or 99 years old in perfect health because he never had any artificial sugar. He exercised, ate right, supplemented, and was very healthy right up until the end. Imagine being able to get another 20 years on top of your normal lifespan by supplementing with an amino acid. And so what's so interesting about this is that glycine is part of the backbone of glutathione. And of course, glycine is also part of the backbone of GHK. That's the peptide that X39 elevates. So I'm sure that's not a coincidence. So in any case, this paper provides a very nice overview on what glutathione is and its role in the human body. It's very important to realize that glutathione is found throughout the human body. This is endogenous. It's a naturally occurring antioxidant. It's made in the liver, so you find it in very high concentration in the liver. And also interesting, the liver is the most regenerative organ in the human body. So we should pay attention when we find peptides like glutathione and like GHK in high concentrations in the liver, and the liver regenerates better than any other organ in the body. Is there a relationship between those two things? And the answer, in fact, is yes. As it turns out, glutathione plays a role in preserving the activity of stem cells in the body. We'll talk about that in more detail in a little bit. But basically, the way we can look at the function of glutathione in the body is that because it's found in the liver, it's going to support detoxification, especially of things like heavy metals like mercury. It's going to help to manage inflammation. Now, inflammation is a good thing in the sense that we need inflammatory markers to tear down diseased or damaged tissue. It's when people have chronic inflammation that it's associated with disease states like arthritis, for example. So we need antioxidants like glutathione to help keep inflammatory markers in check. Glutathione is the principal antioxidant that's found in the ears and protects our hearing. This was one of the things that was looked at in great detail by the U.S. Army, is that the number one disability is hearing loss. And by supplementing with glutathione, the U.S. Army found that you could protect people from hearing loss. This is probably a good part to say that we don't make any medical claims about our patches. They're general wellness products used to support overall health. And when we talk about any medical uses of glutathione, it is through administration of IV or through supplementation. So we don't make any medical claims or treatment claims. But that it's important for you to know that glutathione is found throughout the body, and it can protect our hearing and our eyesight. Okay, so let's now go over to this next page over here. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is take a look online and just do a very simple search for the benefits of glutathione, and you'll come up with any number of references like this one, which provide very nice overviews. I remember more than 20 years ago now, I didn't know what glutathione was, hadn't heard about it, and I was really surprised that when I went for a degree in biology, this was not covered in any detail. And had met a doctor in New York City that was focusing in on this is back in 2003, focusing in on the use of glutathione in human health, and as it turns out, the health of the skin, that I became aware of this incredible antioxidant. So glutathione is used, not surprisingly, because it's the master antioxidant in the body. It's used to support health in a variety of different disorders. So I'll use Parkinson's disease as an example. When people develop Parkinson's disease, it's a result of damage to the what's called the myelin sheath. It's the protective sheath around the nerves. And what's been found is that glutathione is what protects the myelin sheath from damage. So medical doctors now, what they're finding in clinical practice is that if they give their patients an IV of glutathione, that they will be able to help prevent the progression of the disease. They'll also be able to help reverse some of the symptoms of things like Parkinson's disease. Again, not making this claim about the patch. What I'm saying is that if you were someone suffering from Parkinson's disease, I would go to your doctor and I would look at getting an IV once or twice a week of glutathione. This is how powerful this natural antioxidant is. It's also worth knowing that glutathione and vitamin C work together. So in other words, if you're taking a vitamin C supplement, it can complement glutathione. It can help to preserve your body's levels of glutathione. And of course, we know vitamin C in very high quantity has been used in treating a whole variety of diseases like cancer and like COVID. Okay, and then another thing about this page that I happen to like is that it gets into some of the very broad benefits of glutathione in supporting the health of the immune system, reducing stress, improving cognition, and so forth. As a matter of fact, here in the United States, back at the beginning of the pandemic, the US government made a move to remove NAC from our list of supplements because studies had found that NAC could significantly reduce and prevent SARS-CoV-2. That's a whole other story, of course, but that'll give you an idea, again, of the power of NAC. Glutathione also has been found to interfere with viral replication. So if you're a person that suffers, let's say, with the herpes virus, such as shingles, as an example, cold sores, glutathione will actually interfere with that virus's ability to replicate. So again, another good reason to make sure you're getting enough NAC in your diet. All right, that's a mouthful, and we're just getting started here. So what would be some of the reasons why you would want to use our glutathione patch when we're talking about general wellness and health? One of the things that's been established now in many studies with glutathione is that it is strongly correlated with aging. And in people that live past the average, people that live to be over 100 years old, they tend to have higher levels of glutathione. So it's often said that your body's levels of glutathione will determine your lifespan and your overall health. So this is an excellent reason to be concerned about, are you getting enough cysteine in your diet? And are you doing things like using our patch to keep your glutathione levels optimized and at youthful levels? So here's a study that was interesting, and back maybe in the late 2000s, when we started to do some meetings in the Philippines, one of the things that we saw is that people there were using glutathione supplements to whiten their skin. And as it turns out, there's actually several clinical studies which indicate that glutathione actually has an effect on lightening the color of the skin. Probably more importantly is that glutathione will actually smooth out imperfections in the skin and make the complexion of the skin better. So some of you may have heard of this benefit for glutathione, and yeah, there actually are 3 studies that I saw that indicate that, yeah, this is actually a real thing. Okay. Now, when we're talking about skin, we should be thinking about the philosophy of our Alavita system, which is we want to not only put different skincare products, different ingredients on our skin, like vitamin C, to protect the skin, help keep it hydrated, use natural oils, but we also want to improve the skin from the inside out. So by using our general wellness products and improving the health of the body, the skin is going to benefit as a consequence. It's also why it's so important to have a healthy diet, to exercise, drink plenty of water, and not do things like smoke or drink excessively that are going to have an adverse effect on the skin. Now, when we think of having healthy skin, usually what people think of, well, I want to reduce the appearance of lines and wrinkles. And fortunately, there is a relationship between levels of glutathione and collagen. So in other words, in this study, what it's showing, in fact, is that if we can keep our levels of glutathione elevated, this will help induce formation of new collagen. So collagen, of course, is the most abundant protein in the body, and it's typically it's the protein that will associate with the health of the skin. So we generate new collagen, and we can improve the health of the skin and reduce the appearance of lines and wrinkles. So elevating your glutathione has that effect. Collagen also, by the way, will be a precursor to cartilage. We once worked with a Dr. Bernd Friedlander out in California, and he was using collagen supplements along with vitamin C and glutathione to regenerate lost cartilage in professional U.S. football players. So, and we've seen that actually with people using our patches, of course, anecdotally over the years. Okay, here is another study just to kind of drive this point home that elevating glutathione, in this case, they're looking at what happens when levels of cysteine are depleted in the body, the effect that has on collagen. And so the fibroblasts are the site where the collagen is manufactured. So if we supplement with NAC, or we get enough cysteine in the diet by eating, consuming products like milk or eggs, and we can support our glutathione levels, then we also end up increasing collagen production. Okay. So that's just to drive that point home. There's very good literature to associate levels of glutathione with collagen. Here's one more. Because collagen is the most abundant protein in the body, it's going to form, let's say, the scaffolding that other things are going to attach to. That's one way to think of it. So when someone has an open wound, we can think of health disorders like diabetic neuropathy, where the blood sugar levels, they go high. This causes glycation, causes impaired circulation, and as a result, open wounds form. And there's currently no medical treatment that's available for closing these wounds. So here's an interesting form of glutathione, actually. This induces increases in nitric oxide as well as glutathione. As a longevity researcher, I find that interesting because there's positive and negative feedback loops in the mitochondria, in the electron transport chain, with nitric oxide and glutathione. So some of the signaling pathways that I look at in our research on how we can trigger age reversal effects involve the use of nitric oxide and glutathione pathways. But this is, again, all to say that if you have an injury that you have been suffering with for a long time and it won't heal, one of the things to take a look at is, are you getting enough protein in your diet? Do you have the precursors to glutathione? Because if you can keep your glutathione levels elevated and get enough protein in your diet, this will induce formation of collagen. And in this case, here's a study showing that it leads to wound repair. So obviously, very, very important. Okay. Now, since we are here in the summer, and many of you are hopefully going to be getting out in the sun and getting vitamin D and getting a nice suntan, which of course, melanin is an antioxidant. There's also some very interesting research that I read on the use of melanin to improve consciousness, association between melanin and the pineal gland. But in any case, the point here is that you go out in the sun and your levels of vitamin C in the skin will decrease very rapidly within about 15 minutes. And so this acts as a signaling mechanism to induce formation of melanin to protect the skin from further damage. Now, we often think of this as leading to things like skin cancer. This is work that's been done on supplementing the body with glutathione. So we're not making this claim with our patches. We don't have any studies on our patches to show that this would be an effect. So what I'm saying is that if you are going to be going out in the sun and you want to protect your skin, the two patches that would support overall health would be X39 and glutathione. Important precursors would be cysteine and copper. So I'm basically telling you to supplement with copper 3 milligrams per day and supplement with something like NAC 600 milligrams twice a day. And the studies here are showing that if you keep your glutathione levels elevated, then it will protect your DNA from damage. And if your DNA becomes damaged, glutathione will initiate repair of the DNA in your cell before the cell divides. So this is an incredible benefit of glutathione that most people aren't aware of. I remember reading this study years ago and finding out about this benefit of glutathione, and it was actually absolutely incredible. One potential area of research, by the way, for those of you that are doctors, that I think is worth pursuing would be when a woman is pregnant and early on, if there is a diagnosis made that the baby has, let's say, Down syndrome, as an example, my hypothesis would be that putting the woman on IVs of glutathione might lead to repair of the DNA and might actually autocorrect the DNA in the baby before the child is born. I have a reason for stating that as a hypothesis that I won't get into, but I believe that that could be a very interesting area of research. Okay. Okay, so glutathione improves skin pigmentation and wrinkles. Okay, well, this is something that I think many people would be interested in. For those of us that are fortunate enough to be in good health, not suffering from a disease, we're going to keep our glutathione levels elevated and support our immune system, support our health, our detoxification. What other benefits might we expect? And again, here is a write-up on a study that was done over a period of 10 weeks. Very important, again, to indicate this was done with a topical application of glutathione, but you can see here some of the amazing benefits, including wrinkle reduction, significantly improved with glutathione lotion. Of course, there's other studies that show that supplementing with glutathione has similar effects, reduction in the appearance of lines and wrinkles. So from a cosmetic perspective, of course, nothing wrong with people wanting less wrinkles, but because collagen is, again, the principal protein in the body, what this also means is that the skin is going to indicate what's the status of our collagen inside our body. And that's important because levels of collagen are strongly correlated with the health of the cell. Here would be another way of saying this, is that because collagen is the skeleton of the cell, the scaffolding that other things attach to, if your collagen starts to break down over time because of the effects of aging, the cells begin to shrink. They can't hold as much water, and this changes the electrical potential around the cell. This has an adverse effect on gene expression for a variety of reasons, and of course, it's going to affect the ability of the cell to properly detoxify. It leads to mitochondrial dysfunction when the cell shrinks. So this is an incredibly important attribute of our body. So in other words, when you're using glutathione, if you're saying, well, really the only benefit I want is to reduce my lines and wrinkles, that is an indicator of your body's levels of collagen, your body's ability to produce collagen and utilize it for maintaining overall health. So the corollary to that, another way of looking at it, is that if the health of your skin is poor, then the collagen structures in your cells are not going to be optimal. So you want to be thinking about how you can restore your collagen, and that's going to involve supplementation with glutathione, maintaining health with things like X39 and our glutathione patches, maybe taking a vitamin C supplement, maybe taking a collagen protein in the short term, many different things that you can do to get your collagen levels back. But it's critically important. It's not just about the health of the skin. All right, so I promised that we were going to take a look at this, and we're going to get this up on our social media. So X39 is our premier product because it does so many things. And in fact, we found that elevating copper peptide would preserve our body's levels of glutathione. So in some of the original studies we did on X39, which are on our website, you can see that glutathione levels are going to go up about 30 to 40%, which is great. Our glutathione patch, of course, we've seen in studies elevate glutathione over 300%. So I would still say start with X39 because it does so much, but if you wanted to complement it with our glutathione patch, you certainly could. But here, regardless, here is a study that's just out in 2023 looking at the effects of glutathione on stem cells, and incredibly, Glutathione will rejuvenate old stem cells, and specifically old muscle stem cells. Now, if you have come to any of our live events, and of course we have a convention that's coming up in October, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal, so hope to see you there. This is something that I've talked about and shown evidence of with some other techniques, such as using oxytocin for actually reversing the age of the muscles, for using products like X49 to activate satellite stem cells in the muscle, and for gaining muscle mass and preserving muscle mass as we age. So what's important about this is that as we age, let's say you're someone that's over the age of 60, and you've noticed that you've lost muscle, you've had atrophy, you've lost strength, you've lost bone mass, and you want to reclaim that. Speaking with your doctor and getting on a good program, making sure you have your diet in order, which is really key. Being on a program of resistance training, whether or not that be through weights or body weight exercises, is critically important. But if you're over the age of 60 and you get on those programs, the quality of the muscle that you're producing is not going to be as good as when you're younger. So what do we do about that? Well, right here, this shows that restoring levels of glutathione, and we've seen it in other studies with oxytocin, with AHK, will rejuvenate old muscle and get those muscle fibers to start behaving like younger, healthier cells. So yet another benefit of glutathione that we hadn't known about before. So here is another study showing the relationship between glutathione and stem cell function. And there are a number of different diagnostic techniques that can look at things like look at glutathione, look at protein utilization. And as we're looking at the subject of longevity and how do we reverse human aging, these diagnostic tools become incredibly important. So, for example, mTOR. When we're looking at the subject of how do we preserve muscle mass, many researchers today believe that the best way to stay younger longer is through calorie restriction. And of course, for many people, that's extremely difficult. And one of the things that's driving this is the subject of mTOR. In other words, the getting enough of the amino acid leucine in the diet to turn on mTOR to induce muscle protein synthesis. And there's certainly diagnostics today where we can look at that, but not over a period of time. So it would be important to distinguish between the acute and chronic stimulation of mTOR in this regard. And I would also argue that this does come back to how well are we managing oxidative and inflammatory stress as a result of metabolism. This is just a very, very long way of saying that maintaining levels of glutathione help to manage the oxidative and inflammatory stress so we can induce mTOR safely relative to aging and keep our muscle mass and strength. So anyway, here is another study that's showing that glutathione levels are required to maintain stem cell function. So of course, using X39, you're going to preserve your body's levels of glutathione. Again, I really encourage you to take a glutathione supplement or make sure you have a diet that gets enough cysteine in the body. That's really what we want to focus on, is the NAC or cysteine. But here's a study saying Glutathione is so important that stem cells have to have it for proper function. And then finally, as with all of our products, we have research. We have over 80 clinical studies showing that our patches will do what they say. In this particular case, here was a study that we did with Dr. Lisa Tully showing that the use of our glutathione patch did in fact significantly increase blood levels of glutathione. We also had this very, very interesting study that we did with Dr. Homer Nazaran and Dr. Sherry Greenberg using a technique called electrointerstitial scanning that using the glutathione patch had a significant effect on the electrical properties and physiological response of the organs. And that, of course, that study was published and it was done to statistical significance. What I would say in summary is that glutathione is a very simple antioxidant, and the simplicity is what gives it its power, right? It's made of 3 amino acids, and as long as we have those amino acids in our body, then our body has the ability to make glutathione. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but glutathione is so important that it's correlated with how long we live, the health of our body, the way that we heal. Of course, that's connected to stem cell function, the ability to protect our DNA from damage, protect our immune system. And what's extraordinary is that we continue to learn about this very simple antioxidant and its broad effects. So even though glutathione we've known what it is for many, many years, decades, we're still learning about its importance in human health.
Well, thank you so much again. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.